To the district boardroom for the Tuesday, November 18th board meeting. And we're gonna open it at 6:02. Everybody stand for the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, that brings us to additions, deletions, amendments to the agenda and adoption of the agenda. Looks like we have one additional business item to approve the construction excise tax.
Yeah, remember we had the wrong information in the last board meeting.
Yeah.
I move we approve the agenda as amended.
Okay, there's been a motion to approve the agenda as amended by Director Albright and seconded by Dr. Coleman. Director Coleman. Are you a doctor now?
Yeah.
Yeah. If there's no discussion, everybody in favor, raise your right hand. 1, 2, 3. Motion passes 5-0. Okay. Community comments. Is there anybody want online or anything? No? Okay, move by that fast. So, brings us to the consent agenda. Approving the regular board meeting minutes from 10/14/2025 and confirming employment of Melissa Erickson, the food service assistant.
I move that we approve the regular board meeting minutes for 10/14/2025.
Okay, there's been a,
You want to approve the rest of the consent?
Oh, I guess
you can just approve the consent agenda.
okay, approve the consent.
A second.
Motion to approve the consent agenda by Director Sweeney and seconded by Director Albright. There's no discussion. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. 4, 5. Motion passes 5-0. Okay, brings us to the finance report.
All right, I'm going to be giving the finance report and I want to just front load the construction excise tax information because we had, for whatever reason, I think a packet from like 2017 last time for the construction excise tax. So I'll update that. But first I want to give a shout out to Jan Bunn and Deanne O'Neill, because as you know, they've been working on cleaning up some accounting and preparing for our audit, which we had our auditors here yesterday and had anticipated them being here 2 full days. And typically there's some follow-up, but they finished the audit in 1 day, which shows how well Jan and Dan did with their prep for that. And the auditors will be here next month to give their report and answer any questions that the board might have. But bottom line is we did have a larger ending fund balance from last year than we had thought we had. So that's good news. There will be some findings to report on, but the auditors said that all the findings they had we had already worked to clean up as a district, so that they mostly are going to praise us for the work we've done to work on our internal controls. The construction excise tax, so some background on this. It was passed in 2007. Senate Bill 1036 allowed districts to impose a tax on new construction to fund capital improvements to school facilities. Dayton School District passed an 0708 board resolution to authorize collection of the construction excise tax. As noted, school districts with construction tax revenue are required to develop long-term facility plans, which we do have a long-range facilities committee and plans. Copies are available of the current tax index of school construction tax limits from the Oregon Department of Revenue. A summary of construction excise tax collected since the tax was initiated in the original board resolution. The construction excise tax receipts are deposited into Fund 410, which is our capital improvement fund, which Auto oversees, and are used for projects that align with the long-term facilities plan. Transfers from the general fund and other source of revenue from 410 are allowed into 410, but you can't transfer from 410 back into the general fund. So when people see these projects that are going on that the Long Range Facilities Committee approved, we can't take that money from capital improvement and put it into our general fund for other things. So basically today during the business section of the meeting, we are looking to impose the construction excise tax listed here for residential $1.67, non-residential 84 cents to keep up with inflation and what you'll see here at the construction excise tax table on the back, the summary of the raised taxes over time. So you'll see that it hasn't been since 2017, 18 that anything was amended. And I think that's all I have for the business report. You'll also see in the business report the fund balance summary included in here. There's a lot of funds that are going to be looking different here next month because there was a lot of preparation for the audit. So when money needs to be moved from one account to another because it was supposed to have been paid out of a different account, you won't see that reflected on this fund balance yet, but you'll see it reflected next month. That's all I have for that report.
Okay. There's no questions. We'll move on to the superintendent's report.
So we included student data in the board report, but this is from 23-24. It's just a reminder of where we finished last year. So I'm not going to go over in depth because at the next meeting, we'll be able to go over our official results from last year. They're what's called embargoed right now, which means I'm not allowed to share them with you. The Oregon Department of Education has to do some cleanup to make sure all our data is accurate. And then we get a chance to look it over and do any kind of cleanup ourselves that we need to do. And graduation rates aren't released till what, January typically, or
And there would be
for the following, yeah. So at the next meeting, we'll not only go over our data that the state looks at, but also I'll ask our building leaders to report on our diagnostic data. So how our students are doing in reading and math as of now, this time of year. And if you look around the room, you can see a lot of shrapnel from some of the work that we've been doing with our language arts department, as well as our equity committee to make sure that we're eliciting the voices of students, staff, and families in our continuous improvement of our efforts in the district, as well as trying to get a real feel our finger on the pulse of what our alignment or lack thereof is in our literacy program, kindergarten through 12th grade. And those meetings will be ongoing. And I was really impressed with the level of engagement of our language arts team and the level of alignment on what we're trying to accomplish and why. The next step is how we get there. So diving into a lot of research on really what happens in secondary language arts classrooms to really leverage student success. But the bulk of my report is going to be the next two things you see on the list. So an update on CTE and an update on FFA.
Okay. Curriculum and instruction CT is up next.
All right. Good evening. Long time no see. Amy asked that we come do kind of an update on how things are going in our pathways and CTE programs. So there's a lot of information, a lot of writing that teachers submitted. I'm not going to read that verbatim to you, but between the three of us, we can give some updates on how the work in pathways is going. So this year, you can see that we have 5 pathways that are going. So agriculture is what we've had for many, many years now. Education is in its 2nd year. You can see a picture there of some of our early childhood education students working with kids at the preschool. Hospitality and culinary is also in year 2. Fire and EMS is work that we've been doing in a partnership with the fire department for many years, but it's now an official pathway through the state of Oregon. So we will start to be able to collect funds after 3 years of students completing that pathway and completing courses in that pathway. And then health services is also a pathway that we were able to bring out of dormant status. So we're basically saying that's a year one as well, because it's in a bit of a reset year. So I'm not going to talk too much here, but I have Charlie and Kelly to give some updates on what's been going on in the world of agriculture, including some updates on some of the work we've been doing to try to get the greenhouse up and running for the school year. So I'll turn it to Charlie.
Hi there, folks. So the agricultural CTE pathway we really call precision ag. So that's considered to be the fabrication shop, the mechanical shop, our basic auto maintenance, which I have been putting quite a spin with the change of things we've had going on, trying to add as much to that to be able to relate it to ag. I've sat and talked with Mitch a lot, and I've talked to quite a few other people from the community to find out what they're really wanting to keep everyone really happy. A lot of these things parallel up. So as I do my lessons, I'm trying to keep it, like we would do this necessarily with an automobile, but this would be the same with a tractor or a piece of equipment. Changing a tire and wheel would be the same here on an automobile, or packing that wheel bearing would be the same on a piece of equipment and whatnot. So they understand hydraulics, mechanics, it all goes hand in hand. So it's not necessarily right now looking so just automobile based. Same with the fabrication. We've touched base this school year on MIG welding, arc welding, drilling, drill bit sharpening, tap and die, using drill presses, hand drills, hand grinders, bench grinders, measuring. And then we've been incorporating quite a little bit of literacy in our program. So watching something and then getting groups and talk about how you would put that in your own words, and then pick the group maybe that has the best, or mix them together to be able to put together basically a choreographed version to do a video of it. And that's what we've been working on. It's working really well. Mitch pops in quite a little bit. I've asked him, please, by all means, let me know what you think the students need. I have no problem talking to them a little more about electricity instead of where it comes from the plug, but actually a natural resource where it comes from. Same with oil and different things of how these are natural resources. So trying to keep that ag spirit alive in the fab classes and the mechanical classes. So.
Oh, greenhouse first.
Yeah,
Sorry.
so greenhouse stuff, we have a small team of staff members so far that we've met twice, and we're working on a survey to send out to students to get student interest and see what they want to help with. So that way we can hone in on their strengths. And so we're getting ready to send that survey out soon. And oh, good, today. And one of the things that we're going to do is Cody's woodshop classes are going to be making wood planters, so we can make some pre-planted planters and boxes to sell. And my ceramics classes are making little planters for some house plants that we're propagating from my plants. And we put a call out to staff for cutting. So we're Shelly and I are propagating like crazy. So that's been fun. And then Charlie's fab classes are going to be making some custom steel rod, basket hangers and basket stands. So yeah, there's lots more to come on that. So.
And we've had quite a bit of community outreach regarding the greenhouse, which we knew it's a huge pillar of the community. A huge shout out to Mitch and Ann and Claire for getting it to where it is. And so we knew that's a huge piece of work we want to keep going and getting kids to stay involved with that. So it's been really exciting to see the people coming out of the woodwork with these skill sets that luckily they have, because I don't, to really hopefully have a really successful greenhouse and add a little new spin to it in some areas. So, and then you can see up here from Cody also under that Ag Umbrella. He's got his business classes up and running. They were actually able to sell some swag at the homecoming game and they made like close to $300, I think. They've learned some mistakes the hard way with banners and shirts, but they're getting the hang of it. They completed an order for the grade school recently for their PBIS banners that they're going to hang throughout the school. And they've created a design, which I'll show you here in a little bit, to start selling t-shirts at basketball games or sweatshirts. So the hope is that people can choose from one or two or three logos. We'll start pretty small and say, I want that logo on a hoodie. And then right then and there, Caden, our intern, as well as other students can press it on the shirt. Here you go. And that's pretty big business. I don't know if you've had little kids at basketball tournaments, those things go for like $85. We will not charge that much. But I think it'll be a really great business learning experience for the kids. And then construction, they've done a lot with kind of safety and the basics. And we actually just decided to put together a fun kind of culminating project for this semester's kids in woodshop. And I'm going to let Charlie talk to that a little bit more because he understands it better than me.
Okay. So we're putting together the old-fashioned Pinewood Derby. We're gonna get the basic derby kits that are most inexpensive block kits there are. Yeah, and the kids are really enjoying doing some work in the wood shop. A lot of work in the wood shop, but understanding the basics and more intricate things and measuring things out, tapering, doing some more handwork, chisels, sanding and things instead of everything just being an automated tool. So we're getting the kits. Cody's going to introduce them into his in his class, whichever one it happens to be. I'm going to offer it up in my classes, my mechanical classes. By all means, those kids in fabrication as well need to be able to go in there so they can get a kit, put them together. And we're shooting for, what is it, January 29th in the multi to do an old-fashioned Pinewood Derby race. Very student-led. We have a track set up that's being donated for that evening. And we're pretty excited about it. There'll be probably quite a bit of art being done there in Kelly's room. And I think it's going to be a fun way to go from one room of tools to the wood shop, back to the art room, and really let the kids kind of work their way around that CTE building and have a finished product. But even better, to be able to invite their parents to come down and do something really fun. Not only would that be kind of an open house of a showcase of what they're doing, but I think in the multi, we could also set a few things up that we're doing besides that and kind of almost an art display through the shop. So a very inexpensive way to do some really nice work that the kids can all take something home. And like I say, do a little more intricate work where it's a little more hands-on instead of just running something through a table saw and gluing it together with a screw gun. They're definitely personalized to what their interests are. So
We need to discuss legalities of a buy-in for a pot of money to win if you win the race. So for education this year, our early childhood education students go to the preschool 4 days a week. So Tuesday through Friday, Tiffany drives them down in the activities bus. Monday, they have class up at the high school because with the shortened schedule, by the time they'd get down there, it probably wouldn't be worth the trip. But they're getting much more of a hands-on experience with kids in more of that lab environment. So if they're talking about let's design an art lesson that's developmentally appropriate for 4 to 5-year-olds, they actually get to go implement that lesson. And the kids have really enjoyed it. There was a little clunky the first week or so to get them to the right spot to get on the bus. But some of our more historically disengaged students really have flourished in this class. So that's really fun to watch. They also did the babies recently. So we had lots of the plastic babies that cry and you need the keys. And we had keys in my office in case a baby was having a never-ending meltdown. Yeah. So it's fun to see and just funny to see some of the kids with their baby on the hip. Go to the next one. Again, so there's just some more information on that and more details of some of the work they've been doing. ASQ screening is something that jumps out at me. I know the year I worked at Head Start, I had to implement that screener regularly with families when I did home visits. So those are skills that transfer right into the industry if you were to work at a childcare center or even a school. So it's great that they're getting practice with those tools. And then our education courses. So right now we have Intro to Education still going. So that's the first step in the education pathway if you're wanting to work with like the older students. And then Education 2 is the class they would go into next, and really start to look at the technical side of being a teacher. So how do we design a lesson plan? How do we think about how to make it engaging? How will we assess our kids? And then they do some work in the junior high classrooms with those projects. And then cadet teaching, I don't think, I mean, maybe you have 2 in there right now, but second semester we'll have more kids that have filtered through the program this year and last year as cadet teachers again. Last year we had over 10, but some of those were seniors that have exited and they had been cadet teachers prior, so they were kind of grandfathered in. So that's where they'll get even more of that typical kind of student teacher experience. So excited to see what they do with that this year. Hospitality and culinary. We had 4 Dayton seniors, you'll see up there, recently go to the MWEC rally, and they were on a panel in the afternoon and spoke to over 150 educators, admin, business professionals, and did kind of a Q&A. I had to leave to get back to another meeting, but I heard rave reviews. People sent me pictures and videos, so they did really good. This year, 4 seniors will earn their pathway credentials, so they will have completed the 3 credits in the pathway. And then this winter term, we're going to offer 4 dual credits because Krista had that coming into the district, so she's able to offer that sooner than if we had a teacher that had started fresh. And then she and Kelly are both on the Dayton Farmers Market panel board, I don't know what you would call it, committee. So Dayton is trying to get a local farmers market, and there's a ton of interest, of course, with the greenhouse and with the culinary pathway of getting our kids involved. So we're really excited to see what we can do there. And then we've met with Dave Reclose about partnerships with the new inn as well as industry coming in out at Evergreen. And there's going to be large amounts of jobs coming in instantly with those industries. So he's doing a lot behind the scenes to get our kids connected to those opportunities. Oh, and then culinary and hospitality did some pop-ups so staff could buy olive oil that they had bottled, balsamic, I think, and then different muffins and treats. They realized going to nationals is expensive, so they're boosting that ASB account back up. But it was super fun. They were walking around and you could buy things. Fire and emergency. So 2 students so far have passed their EMT class and now are eligible to take the REMT exam after they graduate. We have 5 students in the program overall, and then the EMR classes will start in January, and wildland firefighting will start in June. I don't know if that's correct. That might be January. But if Frayne is working, it is June. January. That's what I thought it was a typo. So he will able to bring his experience to our kids so that they could be trained. And if they're 18, potentially go out that summer and fight wildland firefighting.
Oh, you have a June.
Yeah. So that's a huge opportunity, great money in that, great experience, even if you do that in the summers and you go to college or whatever. So we're super excited to keep growing that. It's small, which we knew it would be, but getting him more involved in January, I think will help grow those numbers. Health services, sorry, I'm trying to make it fast, guys. So we have our our trainer, teaching our Intro to Health Services class, and she's been doing amazing work. She's working really closely with Shelley Galusha as well as with Frank Baumholtz, and she's got this thing up and running. And as you can see, kids are getting hands-on experience, practice. She's got people that are coming in to do speaking. I just signed a purchase today for bleach and chicken wings because they're going to dissect chicken wings to understand like muscular joints, all of that. And I didn't even blink. I just said, sure. And I signed. So it's been really cool to watch her. Teaching is not what she was trained in, and she's doing a really great job. And we put a classroom out in the old weight room in the new gym. So it's a team room in the evenings for teams when they need it, and then a classroom. And that actually has been running really smooth as well. And then she's near all of her equipment that she needs. And I think, yeah, some more pictures. And then Frank, I don't think Frank fully knew what he was taking on with this, and he is killing it as well. So he has an intro to human performance class that he's running, and it's tied to the NASM standards and training. So we actually bought that curriculum, and it's not curriculum that is user friendly for high school kids. It's super dense, super wordy. So him and Shelly are really having to take that curriculum and then almost make a parallel curriculum that is more engaging for students at the high school, but also still hits everything, so that if they get through the courses, they can take the test to be personal trainers at the end. And it's, again, a small group, I think like 8 to 10 kids, but they're taking it really serious. And it's not something that's like super fun every day. So I'm really proud of them, and they are like all in on that potential of being a personal trainer at the end of it all. And then student interns, we realized we need more updated photos, but we have Caden Fast interning in the print shop in the business classes. And he's working alongside Martin Carlson, and then Cody. Martin's been intricate this year in getting equipment running. Like, we have, I think, every piece of equipment up and running out there.
Yeah.
And he has the time and the knowledge to just get things going. It's pretty amazing what he can do. So that has been so helpful. And then he's able to push out and help in the greenhouse and within all of the programs that we'll have out there. And then you can see the logo that we had students create for potential basketball swag. So excited for that. And then we have Ethan Brush interning out, helping in the greenhouse. And then potentially we might have him also be at the grade school helping with the garden that they're getting up and running. So I think once we have more to do when it's up and running, we'll keep him super busy. So, okay, that's it. Sorry, it was a long one tonight. Any questions?
So how many kids do we have in the pathway?
That's a good question. So I could pull the numbers, but when I ran the reports just for the culinary report I had to do for the revitalization grant, it was like 130 kids. And what was super interesting, it was almost a 50-50 split of male versus females. And then white students versus students of color were all within the ratio they should be or higher. So it's definitely attracting students from all backgrounds, but I can run
Have that
the,
data for next.
yeah,
So
yeah.
And I really appreciated all the sort of taking what you are already doing and sort of turning that towards ag. But I was wondering, are we still sort of on track? There will be an ag teacher at some point, like just an ag teacher to cover things that are not being covered at this point.
Yeah, so we had the posting up for quite a while, and it's not a good time to hire teachers, as you know. So we took it down with the hope of getting to job fairs, that sort of thing, and recruiting. There has been some people that have reached out that are interested. So if the right person falls into our lap and we reopen the posting, like, I would be 100% in support of that. We just wanted to make sure that we're being really thoughtful about what we want in that hire and then reopening it, because it's easy to do that.
Can either you or Charlie talk just real quick about your CTE advisory committee that you're planning to
Oh,
have
yeah.
up and running?
So when we met with Reynold Gardner, who is the FFA kind of ag guru for the state of Oregon at ODE. He brought up a great idea of how we really should have some sort of CTE advisory in place. And typically in a bigger school, that would be one per each pathway, but that's a little tricky in a district our size. I think it would be in like nonstop evening meetings. So my hope, and I have a list of names that I need to just get invites out to and get on the calendar, is to create kind of a larger body that can help give input from industry, from Chemeketa, from the city, all over on the greater vision of our pathways, our CTE programs, and then have some offshoots. One would be that ag offshoot, because that's such a big part of who we are and what we do. Getting them at the table for really focused on, okay, what are the needs of your industry? What are you seeing kids are lagging when they're trying to be hired? And how can we help bridge that gap? And so Charlie, like he said, has been talking to people in the community as well. And we have a lot of people who said, yeah, sign me up, I'll come. A good piece of advice I got when I met with Dave Rucklos and Abba Shaw, who oversees a program we're interested in where our kids would be paid to put in sidewalks. And it's something they're doing in Carlton right now. Is she just said, make sure when you have a committee like that, you're giving them a reason to be there, giving them a task. So I'm trying to be thoughtful in who we invite. So it's not like you're just at the table to listen, but really like, here's what you can contribute, because that's what she said really keeps them coming back. And Piper, your name may or may not be on that list.
I
Yeah.
just, you know, we are thinking about hiring, and I look at some of the other farms who, you know, over time have people that can kind of come up through the ranks, because you don't really just need a farmhand, and yet they have to start there so that they understand all the things about it.
Yeah.
But then you want that person hopefully to be bilingual. Hopefully they would have some mechanical skills. So that's, you know, super valuable. And then, you know, the math part of it, the measuring, all those things are so important. And it's hard to find someone who's willing to do the hard work of just working on the farm, and then but also has the capability to move up to, you know, to be a leader, to be a manager, and that kind of thing. So yeah, totally selfish, just wondering.
Yeah.
But I also, I mean, I say that, but by the same token, I know these kids who have come up through that and have great successful careers, whether it's legislative or wherever they go from there. So, you know, it really is good for them as well.
Yeah. Well, and getting them to see that you might be doing the hard, more physical labor, but there really is a path to something higher up. Because I think that when you're 18, you just don't make that connection all the time. Yeah.
I have been reaching out for hours with a lot of people in the community to try to bridge the gap. 6-7 weeks ago, there was quite a bit of rumble on Facebook and different social medias. And I have reached out and I've sat with Mr. Coleman. I've sat with Randall Gardner. I have sat with community members. I've sat with several of the bigger farmers, some of the shops, some of the auto parts stores. I've sat with a lot of people trying to find out what they need and where maybe where the disconnect is, of to make sure they understand what we are doing, that we do understand there's an expectation to continue an ag program, and that we're trying to get the right fit, not just put that shoe on. And I feel that it's really working. I feel that in the communication, bridging those gaps, I feel that the fire has really settled down a little bit. Obviously, it's some time has passed, and I feel very confident that we're going to find the right person, or that person will find us. But being patient to make sure that we get the proper boot, not just something that fits, because we've got a lot to sustain. So in the meantime, just trying to keep it as fulfilling for students and bridge those gaps and communicate with the students of why we're doing this and how come. I talk to the FFA kids a lot, and I tell them if they have any input or they're caught up out there, if they would like to share their knowledge with some of the other students, by all means. There's the corner of my room. You guys can break out into your own breakout room. I know you know how to weld. Share more knowledge. Let's just keep this rolling. And they agree. So I'm pretty proud of that right now. It seems like things have really chilled out, and it's taken a lot of hours, and it's taken a lot of shaking hands, and it's taken a lot of communication to get people to understand that we're not eliminating this. We're not stepping back and walking away or ignoring it. It's going to get strong. It's going to get big, and it's going to take a whole community to do it.
Charlie's got some good metaphors. And I will add that neither Mitch nor Robin nor Charlie are shy about coming into my office and and pushing the envelope if there's something they need. And all three of them have advocated separately, I think, without the others knowing about things that are needed to ensure that that program gets off the ground and thrives. Having a teaching job posted can sometimes feel like having a house on the market where people shy away if they see it up for 9 months without any bites. So I know one of the things that Charlie talked a lot about was that we need to, if we have to go slow to go fast, to make sure that the teacher in the program matches the vision for the program and really understands the vision clearly, that we need to do that work. And part of the CTE advisory committee, as I understand it, correct me if I'm wrong, anyone over there, but is to sit down and really talk about what is the vision for the ag program, because we'd worked really hard to develop that prior to the beginning of this year to make sure we're staying true to that vision. And then having the advisory committee say, so what do we need in a teacher if we're going to see that vision to fruition? Instead of just saying, does someone have licensure? Check. Are they willing to come to Dayton? Check. Okay, here, we go. And as everyone knows, the work that Mitch did in that program was the work of what would be 2, 3 FTE. So really getting strategic about how to make sure that we're hiring someone that can do the job, and the job has parameters that are doable so that we know how to expand that if need be. So I think looking at the horticulture piece of it first before we look at expanding it to animals. Mitch just is going to be hanging on there until we cut him loose.
To fill,
Yeah.
but boots to fill.
And I guess the only other piece I forgot to mention is we've also been working with Amy Webster. So after the fall break, she's going to start putting together just some really small videos that kind of highlight each pathway so that we can push that out on social media. Because I think there's still so much that people don't understand, which I get. I've been in it for 3 years now, and I learned something new pretty much every single day in the pathway world. So just trying to get it out there to parents and community, like, what does it even mean when we're talking about these different pathways? So I think that will be a fun little project as well.
Showcase a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mitch, you're up.
Sure, can hear me. What I'm doing now is I'm doing the FFA component. We don't have the ag teacher doing the FFA, and for all of you, all of our programs, all of our pathways are supposed to have a leadership component with that, and that can be FBLA, that can be Skills USA, that's FFA, and that's the portion that I'm taking care of right now, and making sure that the students who've already been doing things in FFA, we're not leaving them behind, that we're taking care of officers. We've elected 2 officer teams. So they're having FFA meetings. We had an FFA meeting in October and had pumpkin carving and had 50 or 60 kids show up to carve pumpkins and different things. But I want to keep that. That's my job right now, is to keep the FFA component still there and working on animals. And so currently we're in the process of getting steers. Steers are a much longer commitment. And so this year the price of beef is up, and to get a steer to start with, a student has to come up with $2,000 to buy a steer. And then they'll have $1,500 or so in feed. But the rewards at the end it's one of the ones that can pay a lot. There are kids who go to buy $10,000 steers with the idea that they want to place first, have the grand champion. That's not where we're at. We're here to make our kids to make money. And it ends up, usually we try to get our seniors to have the steers and those things. And Kendra is probably going to do a steer. And in this process, this is her working her way up. She started with sheep and then did pigs, and now wants to do a steer and to challenge herself to do those kind of things. So I've been coming in, and I went to nationals with kids. We actually had 3 teams that had qualified for nationals, which it's a lot. We make it look easy sometimes, too easy around here, and we've had teams that have qualified a lot. But it takes a lot of work to get them to that point. And you have to have won a state contest before you qualify to go to nationals. And so last year we had nursery landscape, we had food science, and we had marketing. And when it came down to that moment that Claire had decided not to come to teach, we had to give up marketing. Plus, we had girls going to college, and so we gave up on that. Yamhill Carlton was second to us at state. They went to nationals in marketing, and they received a bronze. But they also qualified to go in ag sales, and you probably heard that they took first place in the nation. For us, our kids worked really hard, and we took nursery landscape and we took food science. In both of those teams, we had to replace somebody at the last, within the last month of going, and so we didn't quite get as high as we thought we would have, but our kids did really well. On our nursery landscape team, I know that Opal Holland, Easton Moody, and Sydney Lockwood all got silvers. And in the team, so there's individual events, and that's the silver award. And then there's a team event that's added to that. And our team event, we were a high silver or a low gold on our team event. So, and then we had one student that started late. In fact, I think she was only there for about 3 weeks, and that was Arabella DiLorenzo, and still got a bronze medal. And overall, we got a silver. But that group really, I think if we would have kept the right group, we probably would have ended up in the gold level. So I was really happy with those guys. Food science, we traded somebody in, and Kendra was on food science, originally qualified in nursery. But we had Kyra had qualified for the food science, and in fact, Orion, and so those two couldn't come. They went to college, and so we had to replace. And so they worked really hard in food science. There's a team event, and you don't know what it is till you walk in the door, and you have to create a product. And they give you all the stuff, and you actually go gather the stuff up and you create it. One year we created honey bunches of oats and that was the year we won national food science with James Sharp and Melissa Sharp and Shelley Bunn and Amber Gamble. All were on a team that took first place. And this year they got together and they did their team event, and it's there's a lot to food science. It is truly a science, and there's a lot of stuff that overwhelms you. They have to take a test with 50 questions, and you'd kind of be stunned at what's on a food science test bank. So they take a test, they do tastings, they have to identify smells, all the things that a quality control person would have to do in the industry. And so they learned a ton of stuff. Overall, I know that Kendra and Isabella Gonzalez were silvers, and then Jackson and Quinn were bronze. And overall, we were a bronze team. So we really felt good about that in the essence of having to trade people in and out and stuff. When we go to national convention, we go to the convention. We go there. There were 73,000 FFA members and guests at the national convention. So it's pretty amazing. And if you kind of have an idea, and you can ask Amy what it's, she kind of had an expectation, and then it was like way more than that. It overwhelms you with the blue and the gold and what's happening around you all the time. We go early, and we go for a number of reasons. We go early. We left on Saturday. We didn't compete till Wednesday, but our kids are not used to the time over there. It's 3 hours. We're on Eastern time. So we kind of go and we tour and we see educational stuff, but we're also getting kids ready, acclimated to the time change so that they can compete well. Things that we did, and I wrote them in here. One of our first things that we did was we went down to Bardstown, Kentucky, and we went to one of the top 3 Civil War museums in the United States, and it was pretty amazing. Again, it's one of those things that I don't know. The kids got stuff out of it, but I don't know that they were ready to get everything that I had to offer them. And our kids are not really good, are not up to date in American history. And so a lot of that stuff was mind boggling to them, it really opened their minds to a lot of the stuff. And there were, I know Ann and I walked through with a number of kids, about 5 or 6 of them that were really into it. And we really set the time frame and where it was. And that was just amazing. And then they brought in cabins and different things there. So it was really good. They had part of that one in Bardstown. Oh, Lieutenant Colonel Moore. It was We Are Soldiers. There's a movie, if you've ever seen it, where he fights in the Vietnam War. And if you haven't seen it, it isn't for little kids, but it ultimately is a movie that you should watch that talks about what it was really like to fight in the Vietnam War. And they ended up on an island, and he was there, and he was one of these guys that's bigger than life. The guy would just, in the movie, would just walk among gunshots and bullets and stuff, and not a single bullet ever hit him. And they talk about George Washington being the same. George Washington sat at the top of the hill where the battles went, and guns and bullets are flying around him all the time. They found over 300 bullets, entry wound things in his saddles and his stuff, and he never got hit a single time. And that's destiny. That's the stuff that's there. And this Lieutenant Colonel Moore was that same kind of kid, bigger than life. And he was part of the filming of the movie and stuff. So if you haven't ever watched it, it's a pretty cool movie, and it really sets the tone. But he was from Bardstown, and so they're very proud of him. And for me, watching the movie and then going there was pretty special. It was one of those things that I didn't know was there, and when it was done, it brought tears to my eyes. And the amount of people that's fought for us through the Civil War, and the people who fought to make the life that we have, that's what we took kids for. And it was pretty cool. We also take kids to Churchill Downs. We went to Louisville Slugger. The whole thing, we went into Indiana Caverns, and you go way down into a cavern, and there's a river in there, and you get into a boat and float out, and then turn the lights off, and you're in pitch black. And there were fossils from prehistoric buffaloes and beef and all sorts of things down in the bottom. So it was a cool trip. It's a long trip. By the time you're done, we leave on Saturday, get back on Sunday. But the amount of things that our kids learn, and to be experienced in the leadership component in the national convention, pretty amazing in the whole process. So that was national convention, and it was we took 16 kids and 6 adults on the trip, and so it's pretty good. Amy came on Tuesday afternoon and stayed till Thursday afternoon. And what'd you think?
I don't think I could conceptualize what 70,000 was in my head until I experienced. I think I was like holding on to the back of Ann's shirt like I was a toddler at one point, trying to make sure I didn't get lost. So I liked the enthusiasm of FFA as an organization, and the students' enthusiasm and pride. It definitely made me think, how do we showcase this for people who don't get to go to nationals? How can we demystify what the experience is? So people do see all the work that goes on behind it and what the kids get to experience when they're there. It was awesome.
Pretty cool. We appreciate that you came. Currently, that's the end of the year. That's the national convention is the end of everything. And now we're already starting back into the next year. So you start now and start working towards qualifying to go. We just did last week, we did Ag Sales and Food Science District. We took second in Ag Sales. We took first in Food Science. And so we're headed to state this weekend over in LeGrand. They've decided now that it's going to switch every other year. It'll be in Corvallis one year, and then it's over in LeGrand. So we're in the traveling mode. So we're headed out Friday, and then we'll compete on Saturday and come back on Sunday. So we have 2 teams. Kendra is on the Ag Sales team, and one of the teams. And we only had 3 days of practice to go to district and then, switch gears from food science and food science and nursery to be doing ag sales. And so they're doing great, and the upside is pretty high for that group. If everything happens, you got to be good and lucky the same day, but ag sales definitely has a good chance of doing well. So anyway, any questions? We are sold.
Appreciate your.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Have the kids seen We Are Soldiers, by the way?
Stop that.
Sounds like, sounds like a good history activity.
Oh, it's worth it.
His wife is the one that during Vietnam, as members of her husband's, platoon or whatever they call it, would pass. It used to be that you would get what, not a
Taxi.
yeah, they would just, you would get it's like an email, but no.
Telegram.
Yeah.
Telegram.
Telegram. And his wife said, no, if someone is passed, I want the letter and I will go personally give it to the wife. And they continue. It totally changed how they do that. So
That's very cool.
Okay, that brings us to the information part of the agenda, the first reading of board policy administrative regulations. KBAAR public records request.
So this is the first reading. A lot of districts around the state are updating their public records request policy with the change in technology. We end up with a lot of public records requests a year, as do a lot of other districts. And a lot of times, I mean, I can look at John, but they're looking for information to market to our district or staff, or to get information to at least do their research on how to better market to educational entities and institutions. Additionally, we just have seen a lot of uptick in public records requests the last few years. And as you know, it costs a lot of time in staffing to be able to pull records and to collect whatever documentation they need. So what you see highlighted is what we recommend the change become where labor efforts exceed 30 minutes, labor, material, and out-of-pocket charges will be charged to the requester. Costs as follows: clerical time, $40 an hour; administrative time, $90 an hour; attorney time, $300 per hour; printing, 25 cents per page. So that would just be on par with what other districts who are charging for public records requests. But again, this is the first reading, so just if you have any questions.
I don't even think it should be exceeds 30 minutes. I just think if you want it, you start getting charged at 1 minute. That's me.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would only say that as long as it's under that 30 minutes, it allows anybody without means to make a request. So
Mhm.
I kind of like the 30 minutes, but I do think if it's past that, it's the charge.
Well, I have it on.
How often do we get these public records requests?
For a while, it was daily.
Guess
So,
it depends on
yeah,
what the activity
yeah.
level is.
At least once a week, I would say.
Yeah,
Mhm.
on just a regular basis.
Yes.
I mean, nothing
Yes.
out of the ordinary.
Yeah, and they usually come to me, and I'm trying to like delegate them to the right human who can complete them. And there's, rules, as you can see in policy, about the amount of time that I have to respond to someone. And
Okay, that brings us to the discussion part of the agenda, schedule board events. The next regular board meeting is Tuesday, December 9th at 6 p.m. That's all for that. So that brings us business, health and safe schools plan.
you can just see in here, Otto has to update this yearly, and it's part of our Division 22 requirements. So it just shows I don't know what our who to contact about things, and then the lead, asbestos, radon, pest management, all the declarations of how we comply with the law in those areas. So I believe it just needs to be approved.
Yep, looking for a motion to accept the health and safety.
I would move that we approve the health and safe schools plan as presented.
A second.
So we've got a motion to accept the health and safe schools plan as presented by Director Albright and seconded by Director Sweeney. There's no discussion. All those in favor, raise your right hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Motion passes 5-0. Then there's a competitive increase stipend alignment adjustment for 25-26.
Yeah, so you'll find this memorandum of understanding. We had some clubs that were not listed at all in our bargaining agreement. So I don't believe that youth and government or speech and debate were in there. So we worked to figure out what they align to as far as responsibility and time commitments. And then we also the wording on this should change. So where it says competitive incentive and advisors of culinary arts, FBLA, FFA, and speech and debate will receive additional compensation equal to 1% of their current stipend. It should say equal to 1% of the current licensed base pay. So the licensed salary base pay, for instance, this year is around like 1% of that would be like $450. So anyone who qualifies for any postseason competition would get a one-time bonus of $450. And that's just to incentivize our club advisors for making sure they're providing those opportunities for students, and then incentivizing them to make sure to have their students excel in those opportunities. And then it just specifies how stipend payments can be how stipend payments can be distributed, so either monthly or at the end of the year, or I believe at the semester, depending on what the advisor chooses. So this was something that we had probably more discussions you would imagine on from July to this past month, and then not debates, just really discussions on how it's hard to quantify the effort of an advisor and rank it according to other advisors, but the union already did vote on this memorandum of understanding. All of us who wrote it missed where it said current stipend instead of base pay, so we will change the wording.
So
Of that.
so it should read
1% of their-
1% of their.
The current licensed base pay.
Yep, looking for a motion.
I would move that we approve the memo of understanding between Dayton School District 8 and the Dayton Education Association regarding benefits.
One second.
Okay, there's a motion by Director Albright to approve the memo of understanding 25-26 between Dayton School District 8 and the Dayton Education Association. And a second by Director Sweeney. If there's no discussion, all those in favor, raise your right hand. 2, 3, 4. Is Terry still there? Yep. All right, motion passes 4-0.
So that wording changed.
Yeah, we can get through this. And last, the construction excise tax.
Think we do that?
At the vote.
We have to vote to approve it. I'm looking for a motion to approve it.
I move that we approve the construction excise tax of the new rates. Is that what we're doing? Okay,
As presented.
as presented.
There a second? Second. There's a motion by Director Sweeney to accept the recommended construction excise tax, and a second by Director Albright. There's no discussion. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes 5-0. That brings us to pretty much the end of the meeting. And you have anything? Student reps?
Can we speak on what like soccer teachers do?
Anything you want?
So I talked to some students this past month. Some of them said they didn't like the like passing times, they want longer passing times. I find it fine, but that's just what they said. So but also I talked to Mr. Nyland, or Mr. Nyland talked to me, and the cabinets or like the countertops in his classroom are like eroded kind of. I don't know, it's the best way to describe it. Like you can see the wood on some of the countertops, and he just said if you could talk to him, see if we can get it fixed. I don't know. But the countertops in the science classroom.
I'll just take notes back there.
Yeah. Andrew, anything? No? Greg?
So just shout out to Mitch for FFA and really shout out to Ann for supporting that. I'm really excited to see where our CTE pathways are going. I still want to hear about the welding certification for our kid. And really excited to see that we're starting to promote that.
Piper?
Yeah, I was encouraged to see that, they were making changes to take what they were doing to at least gear it to ag and in the respect of giving us this time so kids don't lose interest in it. Hopefully, they're discussing it as something that is a part of this program and we just don't, have the right person yet. So hopefully we find the right person. And I do think, how do you fill Mitch's shoes? It's really not possible, but we could get someone who has, a vision that will inspire kids, bring kids that would otherwise not pick any other, activity. That seems like that ag always would draw those kids, and it drew kind of everybody, but I love to see who it draws and what it does for them. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah, I think this, a couple of weekends ago.
Yeah.
Greg and I and Amy and Chris and Piper came one day to the OSBA convention. Some doom and gloom about upcoming years maybe and the money we'll get, but it was all in all good, very informative. I had a good time.
I always learn.
You might
I
tell.
always learn things.
Yeah. Might have a little work cut out for us in the upcoming years, but we'll see. Hopefully things change. They actually had some representatives that went up on stage and I figured they'd get a lot of hard questions, but there was no chance to ask them questions. They left mark. So. Okay, so I think that brings us to the end of the meeting. We adjourned at 7:04.
Hey, Rob, can I bring a card with a pine wood derby?